In this video, I am not going to tell you what earnest money is because there's 1,000 million videos about that. And I am not going to tell you how to save your earnest money, keep your earnest money. This video is simply a story about earnest money. And what I want you to do during this video is I want you to think about all the things in the story that you hear that the buyer and the seller did wrong. So there were these sellers and they wanted to sell their home by themselves. They wanted to keep most of their equity to put towards another house. They put a for sale by owner sign in their yard. This cute couple on a Saturday afternoon comes through and they love the home. They want to make an offer. They tell the sellers, hey, we want to offer on this home. So here's a contract. The contract was just probably one you could get from Office Max or Staples. It was basically, I want to buy your home for this much money and we want to close in 3 weeks. And here's some earnest money. And the earnest money was written as $2,500. They hand the seller a check for $2,500. Seller's going, all right, now, gosh, what do we do with this money? Well, we should probably stick it in our bank. Okay, let's go stick it in our bank account. So they stick it in their bank account. They don't spend it, they just stick it there, it's there. So about 10 days later, the bank calls the seller and says, hey, I noticed that you have this earnest money check, because on the memo it says earnest money. And it's a check for $2,500. What do you want us to do with this? Because it's not clearing. The seller calls the buyer and the buyer said, oh gosh, dang, I forgot to transfer money. Let me transfer money. Buyer calls the seller and says, hey, you know what? We are having a hard time getting financing. We forgot we signed on a loan for our son for some student loan stuff. And that's dinging our credit because he hasn't been making the payments. Will you do seller financing? And seller's like, no, we don't know anything about seller financing. Now we're like into week 5, 6. Seller lets these new buyers come through. They love the home. They make an offer that's well above their first offer that they're under contract for. Well, they really want to take this offer, but because they promised the house to the first person, they say, no, you know what, we really can't do that because we promised this first one. Buyer shows up at the house and said, hey, we need to talk. And so they talk and they said, there's just no way we can qualify. We are so sorry, but we really need that earnest money back. And seller said, you know what? We've had a lot of expenses. So how did this story end? Well, it ended with the seller keeping the earnest money and the buyer was super pissed and wanted to take the seller to court. But after talking to a few lawyers, they had no grounds to get their earnest money back. Pretty sad for both buyer and seller because seller put a lot of money into getting ready to sell, and missing out on another deal. So that was a cost to them. A lot of lessons learned in that transaction. So anyway, see you on the next video. Thanks for watching.